There's a growing outcry among the public with major party leaders to show solidarity and collaborative efforts amid the rising coronavirus crisis. However, unbothered by the chaos invited by COVID-19, the inter-party bickering in the ruling party has continued unabated as separate factions led by the party's leaders have remained adamant on their stances, pushing the national politics further into instability and adding to the ongoing national crisis. Good morning, I am Bipashna Tamang and these are the headlines of the hour. 502 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed yesterday takes the national tally past 211,000. That toll climbs to 1,247. Chairman duo of the ruling Nepal Communist Party pays separate visits to President Vidya Devi Bhandari amid uncertainties regarding the secretariat meeting. Premier Oli holds meeting with Chinese ambassador. The National Development Problem Solving Committee chaired by the Prime Minister rendered ineffective as development projects continue to fall victim to the same problem for years. And Spain storms into the final four of the UEFA Nations League, crushing Germany 6-0 in Sevilla. Coronavirus continues its surge in the country as 502 new cases of COVID-19 were confirmed yesterday, taking the total number of cases to 211,475. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 death toll in the country has climbed to 1,247, with 17 more deaths reported yesterday. According to the Health Ministry, a total of 3,112 swab samples were tested yesterday, taking the test tally to over 1.61 million. 339 positive cases were detected through the PCR method in the federal capital, as Kathmandu district confirmed 289 cases, while Lalitpur reported 38 and Bhaktapur registered 12 cases. Likewise, 2,878 individuals registered for recovery yesterday, taking the national recovery tally to 179,242. And the recovery rate has climbed to 84.8%. According to the Health Ministry, there are over 30,000 active cases in the country, with 2,779 corona patients in isolation centers, 28,207 in home isolation and 1,003 in various quarantine centers. The Health Ministry informed that 38 patients are receiving treatment in ventilators, while 318 are in ICUs across different hospitals in the country. The inter-party bickering within the ruling Nepal Communist Party has continued, with the factions led by the party's chairman duo both attempting to take the confidence of key leaders ahead of the party's secretariat meeting that has been scheduled for today. The faction led by party chairman and Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is doing its legworks to postpone the secretariat meeting. Meanwhile, the faction led by Executive Chairman Pushpakamal Dahal has remained firm on his stance to hold the meeting today itself. The chairman duo held a separate meeting with President Vidya Devi Bhandari late yesterday evening in the context of rising dispute in the ruling party. Executive Chairman Dahal called on the president at her official residence, Chital Niwas. This meeting was immediately followed by a separate meeting between Chairman KP Sharma Oli and President Vidya Devi Bhandari. Prior to this, Chairman Oli had held a relatively long meeting with Chinese ambassador to Nepal, Hao Yanchi. Political analysts have meanwhile said that the Sheetal Niwas meeting with the Prime Minister and President Bhandari mainly dwelt on the forthcoming strategy of the Oli faction. The Dahal faction is adamant on discussing its 19-page long report presented last Friday at the scheduled 1 p.m. secretarial meeting today. The report has mainly charged Prime Minister Oli of promoting corruption and high-handedness. The Oli faction, meanwhile, is reluctant to be a part of today's meeting and is working on the delay the meeting by at least 2 to 4 days. And we'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. There is a mechanism called the National Development Problem Solving Committee, which is chaired by the Prime Minister to solve the problems seen in development projects of strategic importance. The committee meets every 3 months. However, these same problems have been lingering for the past 2 decades in the projects that are said to be given high priority by the government. A target was set to complete the Mid-Hill Highway project by the fiscal year 2022-23, which was started in the fiscal year 2007-2008. After the project was not carried out according to plan, a target was set to complete the project this fiscal year. However, the progress of the project this year has been disappointing, as the project has not even spent 310 million rupees out of the budget of 8.17 billion rupees. There are problems in highway expansion in several districts, while the Mid-Hill Highway project has been affected due to the confusion in determining the road demarcation and the area of impact of the reservoir-based hydropower projects. This is not only the project with complications, as several other projects, including the Postal Highway, have similar problems. The Ministry of Physical Infrastructure has already informed the National Development Problem Solving Committee, chaired by the Prime Minister, regarding the issues. However, the centre is yet to take initiatives. That is why the ministry is in the process of extending projects by amending their revised deadlines. The problems reported by the ministry are not new, as similar problems have prevailed in development projects since 2 decades. Even as the committee, chaired by the Prime Minister, meets every 3 months to resolve the problems seen in the implementation of the development projects, it failed to come up with any solutions. The problems seen in Koshi, Karnali and Karnali corridors are also serious. The National Development Problem Solving Committee is set up to coordinate with all the concerned ministries to take decisions. However, the role of the mechanism has been limited. Due to the failure of the Inter-Ministerial Coordination Committee, the deadlines of the projects of strategic importance have been pushed one after another. The government has not formulated any policies to prevent the recurrence in future, despite having similar problems in projects, compelling to reschedule the project deadlines and increase investment. As the corona pandemic has weakened the country's economy, it has affected the profit earnings of banks. Profits of 19 out of 27 commercial banks have declined, while bad debts of 17 banks have increased. The inability to expand investment and interest rate recovery has affected the overall bank's profit. Even as industries resumed their operations after the government lifted the 4-month-long lockdown back in July, they have failed in recovering the loss, as investment in the industrial and business sectors could not be expanded, accumulating some 178 billion rupees investable fund. Compared to the first 3 months of the previous fiscal year, the profits of 19 out of 27 commercial banks have declined in the first 3 months of this fiscal year, as they failed to increase interest earnings and also due to the surge in interest expenses. Likewise, the decrease in interest gap and change in profit provision in case of non-recovery of loan have also attributed to profit minimization. 8 banks, meanwhile, have increased their profits. Out of those banks, a few have registered very high profits. The pandemic has not only affected expansion investment, but has also increased bad debts of 17 commercial banks. Bad debts have increased as loans that were classified as dubious and poor quality category until the 3rd quarter of the last fiscal year have now transformed into bad debts, which could further increase by the end of the 2nd quarter. Distributable profits of 20 commercial banks, meanwhile, have also decreased this year. Financial analysts have opined that banks could incur further losses if economic activities along with credit expansions do not improve. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked locals in Rukum what is the reason behind persisting internal dispute within major political parties in the country. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
पहिलो कुरा नेतृत्व पुस्तान्तरण गर्न नसक्नु र दोस्रो एकपल्ट नेतृत्व लगिसकेका मान्छेहरूले पटक पटक फेरि दोहोरिन खोज्नु नै सबभन्दा मुख्य समस्या हो।
पावर कसरी लिने भनेर चाहिँ होडबाजी हुन्छ र त्यो होडबाजीको कारणले गर्दाखेरि एउटा देशको नीति नियम विधि विधान नै चाहिँ बिग्रिरहेको अवस्था छ।
राजतन्त्रको चाहिँ विस्थापन भएदेखि चाहिँ परनिर्भर राजनीति छ।
जे भनिरहेका हुन्छन् नि, जो बोलिरहेका हुन्छन् त्यो चाहिँ काममा गरेको मैले देखेकै छैन के।
And time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question: what's your take on the lack of initiatives to seek for a long-term solution to the problems seen in majority of development projects? The options are option A, indifferent leadership, option B, negligence and coordination, and option C, faulty legal provisions. The voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And that's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a great day ahead.